Today I am filming this YouTube video in Africa, and I thought I'd bring along a friend of mine, Nathan Payne, who is the DP on the project I'm currently working on. We're gonna talk to you about the differences between narrative and documentary film. All right, Enoch from the future here. In my haste to try to get a video out this week, I just set up the camera and decided to start recording. And I stepped out of like the field of focus for the entire video. So I apologize. I'm slightly out of focus for this entire video. I tried to put some grain on it so that you guys don't notice, but my bad. We had like a couple minutes to film and I just kind of rushed it. And so don't do what I did. But I hope you enjoy the video. All right, guys, so like I said, we are in Africa on a project right now that we're very excited about. I'm with my friend Nathan. Nathan, who are you? What do you do? Why are you in this video?
I am certifiably insane, and Enoch took advantage of my mental state and brought me across 3 continents to Africa. I am I am in the film industry, so obviously I'm a little bit crazy, but I am a director of photography and a camera operator. Enoch and I have worked together several times, couple features. We've suffered together, and so when I had been actually, I asked. This is my fault, by my own admission. Normally, I work in narrative film, so film, television, and I had been kind of bugging him for a couple of years now. Hey, you know, whenever you get another doc off the ground, like, let me come, you know, like, let me be there, because it is something that I've wanted to get more into. Technically, I have a few credits. They're all stateside. They're all very kind of boring, you know, talking heads kind of stuff. So I was like, hey, let me come on your next documentary. So it, by my own admission, he did not drag me here. I asked him to come. But it happened. It finally happened after a couple years of bugging you. We actually made it. I don't think either of us thought it would be in Africa the first time we got to do a doc. So he called me a few months ago and said, you want to go to Tanzania? And I mean, I had never been.
Literally just like that too.
I had never been to Africa, so honestly, like, there was no way I could say no. It's a new continent, it's a new country, it's things that I've never seen. What more can you ask for? That is the upside of this job, is that you do get to do a lot of experiences that people don't normally have. So it's what I like to take advantage of. So because you work a lot more on the narrative side, working in documentary, what are some differences or like, compare and contrast that a little bit for our audience, because I think a lot of people that are in my audience are probably looking to get into documentary or get into the quote unquote film world, which I would classify film as both narrative and documentary. Not everybody does, but you're making movies people watch, right? So whether storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. But like, what would you say are like some of the major differences between like doing a narrative film versus documentary?
Well, the last film that I was on had maybe 150 crew. So we have 4 crew and 2 talent here. So it's that, you know, that's a big difference. The differences are high level in the sense that it's like structure is different. The way that you kind of operate in a moment is different. On set, from the start of the day, from call time, I know what's going to happen. We're going to have a safety meeting. We're going to look at the first scene. The department heads are going to go in. We're going to pick some camera angles and they're going to block. Then, you know, lighting and art is going to get in there, and we're going to rinse and repeat. We are going to block. We are going to light. We are going to tweak. We are going to shoot, and we are going to repeat all day long. Yeah. It is a very well-oiled machine. People that know their jobs well are exactly where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there, and they are not where they're not supposed to be. You know, like there's a very strict kind of setup, and a lot of people know that, like, that stress is real. Is like, you know, like keeping that tempo and the pace and the structure. And there's not a lot of room to break that unless you're in charge. You don't get to really be doing anything else. This, on the other hand, is an exercise in flexibility.
Yeah.
We wake up and we know generally where we're going to be, but things just sort of happen sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
we have made so many calls on the fly. Today we added 2 locations that we weren't supposed to go to, and we cut one that we were supposed to go to. So in a city where traveling everywhere takes forever and is also dangerous, and we have never been to any of these locations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're adding things that we've never seen before and that we don't truly understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's just cultural things we don't understand, and we just don't know what it looks like. I'll give an example. We were trying to go to a hospital today, and in our brain we're like, well, we don't need a lot here. We need a couple B-roll shots, we need a shot of the sign, and then if we could tie our main talent to the location, if we could see them in the same frame, that would be lovely, because it proves that this isn't stock footage. We have a very different idea, I think, of what a hospital looks like.
Yes.
In Africa, there is no building stereotype. That, like, a hospital is whatever the building that the hospital is in. And this one just looked like, a bunch of kind of concrete buildings like this, single story behind a wall, and you don't go in. And the sign is a tiny little sign, and the street was not necessarily safe for us to be having equipment out in our hands, and certainly having the kind of distance or blocking that we would have normally assumed. And so we ended up establishing shots and B-roll from the car. That's not something that happens in narrative, because we have scouted, we have picked a location specifically for aesthetics and for things like that.
Right.
But in our country too, we could have also done that on the fly, because we have an idea of what that looks like to us. So here, and in documentary in general, this is not a specific problem that they'll have, but in documentary in general, you have to be prepared for this idea that what you're about to go into isn't what you imagine. And then, like you can complain for a second, and then you got to figure out how to do it, and like, that's okay.
Right.
It's expected. That's normal, and that's also the joy of it. The joy of this is the not knowing. Is that we all brought our preconceptions to Africa, got immediately destroyed, and then we just shot the doc that's here, not the doc that we imagined.
I think one thing that, like, I was thinking about this a lot, actually, when we were in the car making that call about cutting one of the scenes that we were going to cut. The idea is not often in like B-roll type scenarios like this. The idea is what am I trying to like tell in the story versus how do I do that? So maybe an example of this would be like if you wanted to say that like somebody ate food, you could show them literally like taking all the steps to like make the food and then like, cook it and then like eat it. Or you could maybe just show them like walking into a restaurant and then like a time lapse and then they walk out. And we imply that like they did eat food there, even though we didn't show it actually happen. So sometimes you do have to like think about like, okay, this location just isn't gonna work for safety reasons, for cultural reasons, whatever. And so we need to figure out like, how do we tell the story that's here without running into an issue like that?
Right. And I think ultimately, to circle all the way around to the main point, is there are a lot of differences, but the same reason that I'm here is that in the world of storytelling, there is one skill, and it is storytelling.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you're a director or a writer or a camera person or an art person or a sound person. There is the art of storytelling, and then you have to learn specific skills and tools to put in your toolbox for whatever department you end up being in. But ultimately, if you're good at storytelling, it's not so simple as to say, well, I can only do narrative, or I can only do docs, or I can only do weddings, or I can only do YouTube videos. It's all the same skill set. And I think that's, I come at things from a camera perspective. And so, there's not, on the high level, there's actually not a big difference between narrative camera operating and doc camera operating. There is when you're starting, right? There's different skills that are better learned in each field, right? It's better to learn composition or very particular, specific aesthetic things in narrative. But it's better in documentary to learn where to put yourself. Where is the best angle to capture this moment that's only going to happen once, and I can't necessarily restage it. Same with wedding video, actually, that skill comes up a lot. It's like you have to be in the right spot before the thing happens so that you can get it. But a good camera operator, regardless of their field, actually has all of those skills anyway. So the best operators I know in narrative, they know where to put the camera before they even worry about the composition. They're like, they watch the scene and they go, I need to be over there, you know? And the best documentarians, they know where to be, but then they can also just frame the shot in a cinematic way. And so for me, it's you know, doing this for realsies, because I don't really consider the other docs that, like, you know, I'm credited, but like they're not real in my brain. This for me is like there's nobody else, it's just me. Like, you know, there's no fallback and there's no safety. We're out here in the middle of a place that we've never been, and like we have to get it. There's no option. Like we either come home with the story or basically this one doesn't work. You know, like if this is a rather small part in terms of maybe on-screen minutes compared to the rest of the story, but if these pieces don't function, then the story doesn't work because they're so integral to the beats. So for me, it was a challenge, and I look forward to adding skills that just sharpen me overall. And I think that's the thing, is that wherever you start, the skills build towards storytelling.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't matter, and especially for your short films or things that you can do quickly, no budget, in your backyard, they actually feel more documentarian. Like, the skills that I'm employing here are the stuff that I've used on the lowest budget things in my life. And that's where I got taught them, is a better way to phrase that.
Right. The foundation for storytelling.
Exactly. And the less money you have, the better your skills are going to be. Because I'll tell you right now that the people that start on big movies, start with millions of dollars in their pocket, they're not creative. They do not put together a story that functions well and is artistic. They are either inside of the box, or they are so far out there that an audience can't connect to the story.
Right.
You know, and so low budget is not, sure, it sucks, and we all want to make this a career.
Right.
I get that. I've worked for free before. I've done the whole thing. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years, more. The skills that you learn that way are invaluable and basically unreproducible. The skills that I learned DPing with a budget that could only work at Home Depot and building the grip equipment that I needed, I still use those hacks and those tricks on bigger budget things. That mentality never goes away, but if you don't develop that, you're never going to have it. You know, it's hard to compare this to like a documentary that you find on Netflix or Disney Plus, Nat Geo, something like that. In that pond, we are non-existent. We are a minnow.
Yes.
But there's still people that have less than us. So in no way do I mean to imply that we have nothing, but there's still a level of ingenuity that comes at this stage before you hit millions of dollars and different kinds of problems. You can't pay your way out of problems. You just have different ones. You know?
And really, ultimately, that's what filmmaking is. If you boil it all down, it's storytelling and problem solving. We were like kind of talking about this a little bit earlier. You kind of said it really well. It's literally just boils down to that.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what your job is on the set. The goal is the story, and then everyone is working towards that. And the problems that you have to solve may or may not be related to the story in that particular moment. The director, the DP, the production designer, these people, their problem to solve is the story, right? but they are assisted by an army of folks who have other sorts of problems to solve that trickle down. And the thing is that, like, thinking on your feet and problem solving as a mentality, like not saying no or it can't be done. I'm really bad at this. This is something that I've been trying to work on, is like positive mental attitude.
Yeah.
Like, that's the skill. It doesn't matter what department you're in. If you have a positive attitude and you're here to problem solve and not create problems, you'll go far, even if you don't know a lot, you know? So, like, that's it. Just make projects, problem solve them, make new projects, you know?
And honestly, you are not going to be a filmmaker until you make films. And so we need to go finish making our film. We have like one more scene to make. You need to go make something. So stop watching this video and start making something. I believe in you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.